How are we doing, guys? We are back again with the opposition preview. We are joined by Prashant from the United Star. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. How are you doing? Thanks for having me today.
I think Prashant and James are very brave coming on to our channel because it's just no, we're messing. Well, hopefully it's not going to be too much abuse to both of you guys, but no, it won't be. It'll be good. We're a friendly community, guys. We're a friendly community. James Ridge, Journo, how are you doing, mate? You're also
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. But and Mr. Wayman, wearing the Virgil van Strauch.
Yeah, Virgil van Strauch. That's what it's all about. Forget Van Dijk. It's all about Van Strauch. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I am looking forward to the game on Sunday. I feel that it could go either way. But one thing I do know is that it will not be anywhere close to the previous fixture, which is good for me because... yeah, we've changed. We're a different outfit now, aren't we? We're a different outfit.
Well, absolutely. Guys, smash that like button as well and subscribe if you are new to the channel. That'd be very much appreciated. But that's a very good point. I was saying to James off air, I mean, I think it's fair to say, James, that both teams are better than when they last played. I think both teams have definitely improved as the season's gone on. Would you say that's fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with United, with both teams, they just feel like more of a team now. There's a lot more solidity.
What are you talking about there, mate?
Oh, both. I was just saying, they play as more of a team now. It's not a group of individuals. So that's just quite nice to see.
And I mean, would you agree with that, Prashant? Obviously, definitely, Man United have definitely improved as the season's gone on. Obviously, 5 wins in a row in the Premier League for you. Is it just being a case of if you start the season a bit better, you maybe would have been pushing City a bit harder?
I don't know if we'd actually be pushing City because, I mean, I don't think we really have the squad depth to have been able to do that. And I think being second right now is a huge testament to the job Oli and the players have been doing. And I think different parts of the season, different players have stood up. In the starting, obviously, Bruno Fernandes was doing a massive job. Now Luke Shaw has obviously stood up. Mason Greenwood is also coming to the party of late. Marcus Rashford's had a good season, at least statistically. So I think we definitely obviously don't have the squad depth that City have. We can't put out 22 players out there each week who are of roughly the same quality. So I think I'm very happy with the way the team has done this season. And we're hoping if we can keep the pressure up on City and they do slip up, there are some points to be caught. But yeah, we'd have liked to start better. But well, the way things panned out, I think we've done very well the way the season's gone.
Okay. I mean, Joe, what's your kind of observation going into this game? Obviously, last time, I don't know would you say it was one player or one individual caused us any particular problems in that game in December? I just thought it was just a combination of like that whole front four. Rashford, Fernandes, I think Martial played that game. Dan James probably had his best game in a Man United shirt, obviously against us, and it wasn't really an individual that caused us problems. We just struggled in general in that game defensively for the first minute.
Yeah, I think we made Scott McTominay look like prime Paul Scholes. I think that's not an easy feat to do, to be honest. I think props to Oli because on the day he got his tactics spot on. Like he used Bruno to move KP. And there was just gaping, man. You could drive a bloody 2 trucks through our midfield in that game, to be fair, mate. It was brutal. And so props to Oli for that and as well. And I think, with the man-marking system as it was at the time, it was very much if you can beat your man, then things start to open up. And that was the case against them last time, but Manchester United, I mean, look, they're doing all right, aren't they? I guess they're doing all right, but Ollie's due his yearly loss in a semi-final. I think he's got 4 and not got past that point. So that's nice. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how they get on next week. But yeah, I'm interested to get the guys' thoughts on Ollie as well. It sounds like Prashant is a supporter, big fan of. What about you, James? Are you happy with Ollie?
Yeah, at the minute, yeah, I can't be any happier with him. Listen, I'll I'll go on the record here and say I don't think Ole will be the person that will win us everything, but he's the perfect person to get us in a position to start winning things. That's my opinion of him. I think, given his ability as a manager and his experience and everything, I don't think you could really ask for anything more from him.
Yeah. I actually agree with James. Actually, I'm not a massive Oli supporter. I think I've had my doubts and reservations about his tactics, especially about his in-game management in terms of sort of his lack of the ability to make substitutions at the right point. And I know there's a bit of banter with us losing semi-finals, but I think it's cost us that he's not substituted players in sort of lesser games at the right time, and the players have sort of gotten fatigued when sort of the crucial game against Leicester came around. So I think I agree with James that I think this is as far. I think he's done fantastically with the resources he had, but I don't know if he can take us to that next step and win the title, because there are a lot of chinks in his armor. And I think what he's done very well is he's himself grown a lot. He's learned a lot from the first time he took the job, and he's developed a lot of players and he's grown their confidence. He's created a happy environment at the club, which sort of Mourinho had just sucked out, and now he's done that at Spurs as well. So he's got a bit of a knack of doing that. Anyway, so I think Ollie's brought that back into the club, which was really important. And you can clearly see the likes of Bruno, even Paul Pogba, for example. He just seems much more happier playing football now than he was about 2 years ago. So I think that's his biggest achievement. But I am yet not convinced if he can win us a trophy. But as of now, I don't think as United fans we can complain with being second in the position with sort of the team we had and the expectations there were before the season, because we barely had a transfer season after all the saga. We never signed anyone really. So I think it's a good job there.
If obviously you do win the Europa League, what does that probably buy Solskjaer another year at least, would you say, James?
It will definitely buy him more time. I don't think he's really on borrowed time, really. I don't think he's in a situation where he needs to buy himself some time. But we've also got to put into perspective, we shouldn't even be in the Europa League. We started this season in the Champions League, so winning it will be a bonus, but it shouldn't be something that Solskjaer is judged on. Winning it would be incredible, but it's not a competition we as a club want to be in at all. So, very nice, yeah, but I don't think it'll have any big impact on Ollie's fate as a manager. I think he's already very secure as he is at the minute.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, obviously, in the last week or so, obviously Manchester United have been very heavily involved in the European Super League. It looks like Ed Woodward is now leaving the club as a result of that. I mean, it's probably a double question, that, Prashant. But obviously, first of all, what were your thoughts on the Super League and Man United's involvement in it? What were your thoughts on that, mate?
Disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. To think that an American can come across the Atlantic and think that he sort of has an inherent right to be a part of a league where we've sort of struggled to make Europe, the Champions League, 4 out of 8 times in the last year. Even beyond that, it's absolutely abhorrent that Manchester United were pushed into this. And obviously, I want to say here that the players, the managers, the fans have nothing to do with it. And that's my biggest issue with it, because it's the name of Manchester United that's sort of being dragged through the mud because of an owner who's only cared about himself and nothing else. So it's absolutely disgraceful. All he's done is taken out of the club. All he's done is, sort of fanned his own profits, kept on going after the profits. And it's disgraceful. That's the only word I have for it. And there's no way Manchester United or any other club deserves a place inherently in the top leagues in Europe or anywhere in the world. Because 20 years ago, Tottenham Hotspur, Chelsea, Man City, these weren't in the top 6. So by what authority were they there? By what authority are Manchester United vying for that spot when we haven't made it to Europe in the last 4 out of the 8 years? It's just about the money. It's just about the size of our stadium. It's just about these things. So absolutely disgraceful. And I hope Woodward is just the first step of this sort of healing process that I'd want to call it, where the Glazers are eventually forced out of this club, because this cannot go on. They might, I think, I'm not sure who said it, but they said that they might have the front key to the door, but at the end of the day, they're just tenants at the club. The club belongs to the fans. The club belongs to us, and there's no second question about it. There's no second question about it, and such a decision should basically cost them their ownership. And as United fans, we should not, you should not accept anything less, in my view.
I love that. Just to quickly jump in, Oscar, I think one of the biggest things that these powers thought was that the legacy fans, i.e., let's look at just the English club, the legacy fans were the season ticket holders, go every week, that live in the area or live in England, yeah? I genuinely believe that these people assumed that places like Asia, America, they would all lap it up. But what's actually happened, even them who were in different countries that were around the world weren't for it either. They were like, no, we don't want none of that. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me is seeing that. And even as a Leeds United fan, listen, before all this happened, from afar, I enjoyed the Glazers stuff, you know? I enjoyed it because it's the biggest rivals getting dragged through the mud, right? It is what it is. It's football, yeah? Man United enjoyed us being in League One kind of thing. But having actually seen what went on, like even I'm, as a Leeds United fan, saying, get the Glazers out. Get Stan Kroenke out. Get FSG out. Just get them all gone and on the bike back to American fucking football where they throw the ball instead of boot it. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's right, though, Oscar. Just get them gone.
Absolutely. You know, if I can just jump in on the bit about the Asian fans, you know, it's an absolute embarrassment and sort of almost disrespectful to us for them to say that we don't watch games. We stay here awake at 1:30 a.m. We wait for Manchester United to play. We've got bloody 15 night games and all of them start at 1:30 a.m. in India. And we stay awake to watch those games. We watch the entire 90 minutes. We put out videos right after the game. So it's almost disrespectful to say that, oh, we're not interested in watching. The only reason why 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds in England aren't watching football is because Sky bloody charges £400 for it. That's the only reason why they don't watch it. It's not because they're not interested in the sport. So Perez, the Glazers, they've completely got it wrong. And it's shocking to see how these guys who claim to be such astute businessmen can get something so abhorrently wrong and have to cancel it in 48 hours. This is incompetence of the highest order in my mind.
Yeah, I heard them. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Max Rushton said, like, he looked at it like how incompetent these billionaires are, but then on the flip side, how incompetent must we be? The fact that we're not billionaires. Do you know what I mean? If they're that incompetent and they've got all that money, how incompetent are we that we've got notes? Do you know what I mean? But James, what's your thoughts, mate? You know,
it got to a point, you know, when there was that little grey area where it genuinely looked like nothing could stop this and it was going to go ahead. It got to a point where I was questioning how I could continue to support Manchester United if this went ahead. That's how much of an embarrassment it was. It was disgraceful, and I think, you know, I've read a couple of comments about the potential punishments. I think any punishment we get realistically won't be too harsh. I think unless obviously you just abolish the club, that'd be a bit of a stretch. But yeah, I think I mean, Pasha put it perfectly. It's like I can't add anything onto that. There's so much passion in there, but it's disgraceful. And I hope that, you know, there's marches that are planned and there's a lot of protests, and hopefully that this will actually be a good thing for United in that it kickstarts everyone into a movement which eventually gets rid of the Glazers, because there's always been the Glazers out movement, but it's never been to the level it is right now. You know, I think we've broken records on Twitter for the number of times a hashtag is used, and that was just in 24 hours. And it's, you know, you've got fans of every Premier League club tweeting Glazers out, and I think this could really be a blessing in disguise in that Woodward's gone already. He's not coming back, and hopefully the same happens to the Glazers, because the pressure is just going to keep mounting. Whether it's in 3 months, a year, 3 years, something will crumble. And realistically, the Glazers took over United with the view that this Super League or something along these lines could happen, and now they know it can't. They've got no incentive to maintain a club which is costing them money, and they're costing the club money. It's not a good relationship. It's very independent. There's no codependence about the ownership. So hopefully they just lose all faith with United and they get rid, whether that's due to financial issues or due to pressure from the supporters.
Yeah, no, I've seen there was even some fans managed to break into Carrington, which I thought was great, to be fair to them. And look, much like Manchester United, I don't like Chelsea, and seeing the way that what they did in stopping the bus, and I was genuinely emotional as a football fan. I was saying this on the United Star earlier on. It hit that deep, you know. Like I was saying to my partner, if it was Leeds, she said, like, would you mind if it was Leeds? And I said, listen, I won't go. And I won't go. Like I would stop my season ticket. I would probably still watch them, you know, on TV. But again, like James said, it wouldn't have that support, that passion that I currently have, because they tried to ruin football for me. They genuinely tried to do that. But I think, James, just quick coming back to you. You know, you mentioned about the sanctions and stuff. I've been thinking about this myself. Like I know a lot of people in the top six, and Prasham might not know this, but you know, Leeds United got docked points. You know, 10 in the Championship, 15 in League One. We had to start the season on minus 15 points due to, you know, poor ownership and going into administration, and a number of other clubs have done this. And what's annoyed me a little bit, because it's the top six, I've seen a lot of the media, especially those on Sky that have played for these football clubs, saying you shouldn't punish the fans. But at the end of the day, we were punished, and I don't run the club. I didn't overspend my money, you know. So what's your opinion on if there was to be a points deduction? Because I feel, James, a fine is not enough, because these men have a lot of money. They won't even feel it. The amount they're going to be able to fine them, they're not even going to feel it. So for me, it should be a points deduction. What do you reckon, James?
See, I completely agree with you. I think that my worry is that we won't get punished and they'll get away with it, and it will just become a disgrace to football, because we get this top six bias, and you know, I'm worried that will continue. But I don't even think a points deduction would be enough. I think there needs to be a genuine rule change as to how these owners can run a club, because they don't care about football. The owners don't care about how Man United do on a pitch or where they finish in the league. Yeah. They just care about how much money it's earning them. So if we get docked, 20 points, 30 points, they're not going to care. They're not even going to know it's happened. Mm-hmm. So we need something to change that will affect them. We need, there's government, whether it's getting the government in or the FA, just, I don't know what they do, but something needs to change at a higher level so that they can't continue to use the club as leverage for their different business dealings and use it as a massive power trip to make them think that they can change one of the world's most watched and most celebrated sports.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's mad, isn't it? That I read something on, it's actually on Sky, where one of the owners of one of these 6 clubs turned up to a game and had to ask someone what colour shirt his team were wearing, and that
time that too.
Go on, Prasham. What were you going to say?
I said that was at halftime, so he saw 45 minutes of the game, so that means he doesn't even know his players.
Imagine that. He's thinking, "Oh, my lads are doing all right," and he goes, "What colour?" No, that's not your shirt, mate. Your team. What are your thoughts on the sanctions, Prasham?
I completely agree with James, and I agree with you as well. I think it happened with Leeds before. It's happened with other clubs as well, where they've been demoted. For example, forget the Premier League. Even, for example, Juventus, they've been sort of demoted to the second division completely for match fixing, for example. So, again, the fans had nothing to do with that, so to speak. But again, the club was punished. But I think this problem doesn't end till these idiots aren't kicked out of the country. They have no place. They don't understand the roots, and they need to go. Again, 50+1 is something that might work, but then again, 50+1 also enables a sort of German model where one club becomes so powerful where the others can't do anything. So obviously, there's no sort of right answer to the question here, and probably I'm not the most equipped to do that either. But there has to be something that has to happen that is substantial and tangible. Because again, if you put a financial penalty, you can be rest assured that Manchester United will be paying it. The money will be going out of the club, not out of the Glazers' pockets. You can be rest assured about that. You dock points, like James said, they don't care about it. They don't care about it. Actually, they might, because then they might lose their Champions League spot. Who knows? But something needs to be done, because if we don't make an example of this, Perez is already out there saying that this is a great idea and it's going to happen sometime again. Laporta, or the Barcelona president, is saying the same thing. So we need to put a stop to this. We need to take hard decisions, and they have to be taken quickly. The longer you drag this along, the more the frustration is also going to build among the fans. So while that might be a good thing, we might actually force these people out of the door, but we don't deserve this. The players don't deserve this, and the punishment has to be fitting to the crime. And I think the crime was massive. You can't do this overnight. Well, not overnight. In fact, it's worse because they're probably planning this for a couple of years. And just lying to the faces of the fans, the other clubs, the FA. It's appalling.
There was I think Florentino Perez mentioned it in 2009, and it was done with within 48 hours. But I do agree with you in the fact that if something is not done, and if they are not made a, if something like serious isn't done, then in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, some other owners might come along and try to do the same thing,
I reckon
Hopefully,
I reckon in a year's time, they might go for it again.
There is no worse a man in football for me though now than Florentino Perez. I want to see that man gone. Like I think I would go against every single moral that I have and headbutt that 74-year-old man. Like he runs that deep. I'll go back to you, Oscar.
He is. He's just shameless, isn't he? In a way, you've got to admire just how shameless he actually is now. And like when he was saying as well, we're going to save football. I never actually explained how we're going to save football. I just kept saying, "Well, what's the plan all about then? We're going to save football. What's the plan all about then? We're going to save football." Like
because he doesn't have any money. Like he said, "Oh well, you can. If the Super League's not happened, we're not signing Mbappe or Haaland. All right." So, but that's what it's all about. It's money, you know what I mean? It is all about money.
Yeah, and it's all about more games. I mean, that's the beautiful thing that suddenly I'm starting to respect Klopp and Pep as well, because they've sort of come out and unequivocally denounced the league. Gundogan came out and said that the UEFA Champions League, the model that they've proposed, that's ridiculous, man. They just keep on they're wanting to play these players for more and more games. These guys aren't machines. They're going to break down. And beyond that, what's the point? Again, why is it an historical coefficient? So imagine if Leeds by some chance finish above Manchester United next season or in 2023. By some
next
chance.
Next season.
It's not going to happen. But imagine that happens. But they don't get, if let's say Leeds finish 5th and United finish 7th, United will play the Champions League and Leeds will get Europa. It makes no sense. It's ludicrous. What's past performance got to do with the present? It makes absolutely no sense.
No, exactly, and they have passed, haven't they? The ones in the ones in 2024. It's now a league, isn't it? I've seen a little bit. It's like there's a 20-team league, and you only play each team once or something like that. This new rules, it's mad. It's mad. The thing that's passed, but that sort of gone under the radar a little bit because of the ESL. But yeah, it's all crazy.
But all the games would be after halfway through, as Prashant was saying, when it gets to a point where, say, Arsenal and Tottenham, which, let's be honest, Arsenal and Tottenham are going to lose every single game. They're going to get done 5 or 6 every single game. And they're just going to be fighting it out to see who can finish above who, like in the bottom 2 and that lot. If there's no, relegation from it, then all the games become awful. Like, some teams will absolutely start off flying, will win the first 5 games. They're already through. Then you'll get teams who are already out, but they've got no incentive then, those teams who are already out, because they know they're going to be in it next season. So it turns into just friendlies. It just turns into friendlies.
But Oscar, it is that, right? Because you have to be invited to this competition. Yeah. It is a glorified friendly because you have to be invited. Which professional competition do you have to be invited to? You qualify for things. You're not invited to things. It's not a conference.
No, exactly. It's but it's just mad. I mean, how do they decide who gets invited in that lot? Is it just whoever Florentino Perez likes and doesn't like, or is it? I don't know.
Who has the money? It's simple.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it'd probably be like an auction, won't it? It'd probably be like an auction. Who wants this number 1 place? Who wants number 2 place in that lot? And it's just. It's absolute nonsense, isn't it? But it does worry me. It does worry me, though, if the punishments aren't sufficient, they will go in for it again. There's no way you stop Florentino Perez by just giving a fine. There's no way you stop him.
Take him out, man. Take him out. I'll take him out, mate. Straight sniper him.
The only reason he also wanted shorter games, I believe. He probably can't cope with the length of the game because of his age, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. He needs, honestly, he reminds me of Senator Palpatine from Star Wars. He's like the Sith Lord. That's what he is, and he's got rest of his, that's what it's like, honestly, and
He's a Bond villain. He's
Gary
a James
Neville and
Bond
that were
villain.
Obi-Wan Kenobi saving the day and stuff. It was like the Jedi versus the Order, man, honestly.
It is like a Bond film, though, isn't it? Kind of thing. Like they're all this conference and that lot, and it's just it's absolute nonsense. But yeah, they will go for it again. They will go for it again if there's not a big enough fine. But let's talk a bit more about the game. Obviously, James, I'm not sure how much of Leeds you have seen this season, but on the basis you've seen us a little bit, what would you say is what worries you going into this game about Leeds?
My biggest worry is probably not going to play, and that's Rafinha. I think he's one player that I'd definitely take at United if we don't get Sancho in, which isn't looking likely. I think his progression from the start of the season to now has been phenomenal. I think he does everything right, and you can tell he's been moulded by Bielsa to be a lead sort of player. But I think your work rate is another thing that worries me, because this will be the first time we've had a week-long break between games all season. So hopefully we'll be a bit more rested. But still, you could run us off the park. I think the fact that you managed to make Patrick Bamford look like a Premier League striker is also worrying. There's clearly a very good system in place to make him look as good as he is.
Oh, dearie me, James. That's a bit of a... How many goals has Anthony Martial scored this season, mate?
We don't talk about that. That's fine. We'll leave it on that bit.
James came for us there, didn't he?
It did.
But
How many goals has your number 9 scored this season, mate? That's all I'm asking. If you start on Paddy, mate, I'm going to start on
James, I did a combined 11 with Carthick, and he picked Bamford over Cavani, so that tells you all you need to know. I mean, he was coerced into it, but...
yeah. Bullied.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think you're such a more stable unit now, and you've seen with the City game and the Liverpool game, you concede a lot of chances, but you don't concede a lot of goals. They're not high quality chances, are they? You become a lot better in that sense. You're very good at nullifying threats now, which is worrying. And I think the fact that you've now got a stable back line as well, rather than constantly chopping and changing like you were heading into the previous game, but that's also worrying. So defensively, attackingly, you're good going both ways. So that's a worry.
That's good. I had to get that in as well.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
How are you managed to get clean sheets though out of Lindelof and Maguire as a partnership? I mean, maybe
because Ollie's at the wheel. That's how.
I've got to say, if anyone says he's a genius and you put that in front of him, you say, yeah, actually, he might be good at this management lark after all the stick he's got. But this is a great shout. This is a great shout about our man Florentino Perez. I can see it. I can just see that. To be fair, everyone's leaving, so he takes the fee. And then he gets Real Madrid funded for Mbappe. You can just see it. You can absolutely just see that. But Prasham, I mean, is there any specific fears you've got going into this game about Leeds United?
So, I've got a lot of slack for this throughout the season because I'm a huge Bielsa fan. I've been ever since sort of he decided to drop Riquelme in that Argentinian World Cup team. I think that's a sort of daddy move there to drop one of the best players at that point. But I've been a huge Bielsa fan. I think he's a great coach. I'm not sure if he's a great manager. I think there's a distinction between the two. But I think he's a great coach, and it's always fun to watch his teams play. I don't think there is one specific threat in Leeds. It's just the entire unit because it's so aggressive. It's always at you. Even when we were 6-2 down, y'all were 6-2 down in that game. In the 90th minute, his mind works that, okay, I can get a goal here, it'll be 6-3. And that sort of, that bothers me because we aren't very good with dealing with that physicality in a sense. And Leeds is very good at bringing the game to the opposition, and I think that's been brilliant. Where I sort of disagree with James, and y'all can correct me, of course. So I essentially watch every game in the league, but I feel that Leeds are yet conceding as many number of big chances as they were before. But I think Melia has obviously pulled y'all out of a lot of situations in the last the last set of about 10 games. And also there has been a more sort of fluency in the midfield, I'd say, obviously brought in by the fact that Rafinha has been so good that Calvin Phillips has been able to do more of the defensive role, and then Rafinha can go forward and do the attacking bit. So I do think that they're yet as susceptible, they won't concede 6, I'm not saying that, but I do think that Leeds is susceptible in defense because that's just the way he plays. If you're going to attack with 8 or 9 men and defend with 8 or 9 men, you are going to be caught out by teams that have pacey players or teams that, even against Man City, fair play, y'all got the result. I was quite happy, and I think y'all did well to hang in. But there were chances where City could have sort of got ahead in the game and could have even scored 2 possibly. But I think definitely that there will be chances that United will take, and the fact that Martial is not starting is a great thing for us, and Cavani will be up top, so he probably will be able to convert those chances. So again, I'm expecting a very sort of, I say nasty, but I don't mean nasty in the traditional sense where people are going to clatter each other, but I mean like physically jarring game where both teams are going to have to be at it for the entire 90 minutes. Otherwise, it could become very one-sided. I don't expect Leeds to not be at it. So United better be at their A game and better be fresh after the week's rest that they have had, as James said.
Worth mentioning as well that obviously the 6-2 last time, Cavani didn't even start that game. Martial actually started up top, and it was Cavani who will probably. Who would you imagine he'll start this one?
I think it depends on sort of the formation. I think Oli goes with, if he decides to play Pogba, Bruno, McTominay, and Fred in this one, then probably he can go with Mason and Rashford up front. He'd probably be excited to stick James in there again. So I think Cavani may come off the bench and Greenwood would start, but Greenwood's been in a good run of form, and he is also one of those finishers who can shoot at sight and score. So the last game also Greenwood started as the striker, and probably that was sort of a rehearsal for him to get him ready and going for Leeds. So I do possibly think that Greenwood might start as the striker. But when I said Cavani, I essentially mean a player like who can take a chance at the first time of asking, and I think the form that Greenwood is in, I think it's possible. The other thing also we have to consider is that Rashford is not trained with the team today. He's going to join them tomorrow, is what Oli said in his presser. So it is possible that James actually plays on the left, Greenwood on the right, and Cavani is stuck up front. Or then Pogba plays in that left-hand side, which he has obviously come out and said where he loves playing. So that could also become problematic. So I think that could also happen.
Rashford hasn't trained today. What a shame that is, bro. What a massive shame that is. Rashford hasn't trained today. That's such a shame, that, isn't it? That's such a massive shame. Obviously, one player that's really stood out whenever I have watched games involving Man United is probably McTominay. McTominay's actually looks really good this season. I think, am I right in saying, James, that Ferguson this week has said that he's going to be the next Man United great? Did we go that far?
It's possible. He's made a lot of comparisons to Fletcher, but I think everyone does it. It's a bit lazy just because he's Scottish. But I completely agree with you. I think McTominay is so important to the team when he plays, especially against a team like Leeds. He's probably the most press-resistant player we've got in how he protects the ball, distributes it well, and he's got the physicality to be a solid anchor in that midfield. My worry for him against Leeds, though, is with a team so fluid and so quick in their attack, he's not as disciplined as I'd possibly like him to be. But he's all right when he's with Fred because those two sort of just form a base together. But I've always said I feel like McTominay and Fred defensively both do the job of combined of one world-class defensive midfielder rather than two incredible defensive midfielders.
Do the job of the Calvin Phillips, James. Is that what we're saying?
We'll leave that lingering, but yeah, I think
thinking with someone more of a little bit like more quality, like Matic in his prime or Kante. But yeah, you could if that helps you sleep at night, sure.
Go on, James. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just because he's not a flashy sort of Bruno Fernandes, sorry, Paul Pogba sort of player. I think he gets a lot of stick from United fans and quite undeservedly. But you know, he's an attacking threat. He's solid defensively, and he's press resistant, which is such an important asset in today's game. So I think he will be a big if we do manage to get anything from the game on Sunday, I think he'll have a big part to play in it.
And obviously Prasham as well. Luke Shaw has massively stepped up this season, probably had his best season of his career. You'd probably be able to argue. Obviously got a lot of assists, being excellent going forward, and defensively pretty solid as well. How impressed have you been by him?
Absolutely. I think he's done a phenomenal job, and I think here Oli deserves a lot of credit. The way he's put the confidence in him after everything that went down with Jose, I think he deserves a lot of confidence here, and a lot of credit here. And I think you can see that Luke Shaw, we knew he was always a quality player, and then he got smacked with that injury, and then his career was going nowhere. But this season he seems to have pulled it together, and I could even say that he's easily England's best left back. But I I could even go as far as saying he's England's best wing back on either side. He's been that good this season. I think he's been fantastic. And I could also possibly make a case that he is in the running for player of the season for Manchester United, even though Bruno has been so off the charts. But 2021 has sort of belonged to Luke Shaw, and Bruno has sort of tapered off, and Shaw has sort of picked up the mantle, so to speak. Obviously, they don't play the same positions, but I think week in, week out, he's putting in great performances.
There's been as well over the season, James, between the goalkeepers, quite a bit of competition over the season. Obviously De Gea, his general level has kind of dropped off, I think it's fair to say, over the last sort of 2 or 3 years compared to where he was at. And obviously Dean Henderson has emerged, obviously on loan at Sheffield United, progressed into your first team and been starting the last couple of games. I mean, who do you expect to start this one then?
I'm fairly confident it's Henderson. I think that torch has been passed now, but that's not to any discredit to David De Gea. I still think he's got a lot to offer this side. But like you say, I think he's, whether it's a confidence thing over a long period of time, or whether it's just, I can't imagine it's age catching up with him because he's a goalkeeper. So there's something not quite right with De Gea. He's not the same goalkeeper at all that we saw a couple of years ago. And whether he goes on to another team and finds that confidence and becomes one of the world's best again is up for debate. But I think right now the number one shirt is firmly in the hands of Dean Henderson.
I've got to say, Joe, in terms of just outside of looking in, I've never seen a player go from like up here, like in terms of De Gea, to like down there in like the space of 6 months. It's crazy, isn't it? What's happened to him?
I know he was never as good, but Joe Hart had a similar sort of fall, and I know, you know, David De Gea was one of in a top 3. I don't think he ever passed Neuer, do you know what I mean? But he was always considered as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. But it's a bit of a strange position, isn't it? Look, I still can't believe what happened to Joe Hart, to be honest. Like, for him to, I mean, he's just gone. I know, you know, even Jack Butland.
Yeah,
you know, I know he was nowhere near them levels, but he was touted for some big clubs. He went to Stoke in Championship and he was god awful. Like every week, it was like error after error after error. So I think, you know, I'm assuming like goalkeepers are a different breed anyway, but you have to have a level of confidence, don't you? You know, about you, you know, and obviously if that goes, then as we've seen with other, you know, using the Joe Hart as an example, it can have a massive drop off, I guess. And I think it's mad because it'll be interesting to see what happens with him in the summer, because he's not going to be happy with sitting on the bench to Dean Henderson. I nearly said Jordan Henderson then. He's not going to be happy with that. So surely he's got to move on. And I think maybe he might look back at the end of his career and think, I should have pushed through that move to Real Madrid that never was, because now they've got, you know, Courtois, etc., you know, and maybe that ship sailed for him now. Where does he go now?
No, exactly.
It's probably backwards, you know, like I hate saying this, but like Man United, and then the natural progression, if you're at one of them elite clubs, is your Real Madrid and your Barca, really. You know, after that, there is nowhere, I don't think. Maybe Bayern, you could say as well, but I think even if he goes back to Atletico, it still feels a bit like a drop backwards, but he's still an elite level goalkeeper for me. I think it's mad that Henderson is in there, but I don't watch Manchester United week in, week out. But, you know, if the lads say he deserves, then obviously he does. But, look, I hope Dean Henderson has a shocker. I remember that game at Bramall Lane when he in the Championship, when he passed it to Jack Clark, and I mean, we never went up that season anyway. It was insignificant, but I just remember that error that he made. He had a bit of a shocker that day. So fingers crossed he has another shocker this time around. And we'll be all right. I just hope Rafinha makes it, Oscar. I know he's highly unlikely because he's not trained. And I heard earlier on that Bruno Fernandes did an interview on MUTV, and he actually said towards the end of this interview that he said he doesn't think he's going to play. And obviously he knows that because him and Rafinha are really good friends. So they've been speaking about this friendship, and I think he must have said at the end of the interview he's not going to make it anyway. So obviously he said, look, you know, I'm not going to make it. So although we're still hopeful that he's touch and go, I don't think he's going to make it, which is disappointing, because the fact that Luke Shaw, and I agree with what Prasham said, I think for me, he's England's best left back. He's been unbelievable this season. I know it's hard to say as a Leeds fan, but he has, And I'd have liked Rafinha because I just think Costa's a totally different kettle of fish for Luke Shaw to deal with. It's easy work.
Well, that's the thing. You look at it and you think Costa against Shaw, Jack Harrison against Wan-Bissaka. I know Wan-Bissaka's got his critics going forward, but I think defensively, I still think he's a very, very good defender, especially like in terms of recovery pace and that. Like he's a bit similar to Reece James. I remember like when Jack Harrison went up against Reece James, he tried to take the ball around him, and it was just like Reece James was just like, "Nope, you're not doing that. Yeah. Nope." Just stood it. I think Wan-Bissaka was doing similar in that game back in December, so that's an issue. What the wide areas might be massively cut off for us in this game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely, mate. And it's gonna. I think. Which side will Lindelof play at? Will he be on Aaron Wan-Bissaka's side?
He's always on the right. Yeah,
he's always
on the right. Right, okay. Because he's the one, and that's the one that we need to be attacking for me. If I look at that Man United back line, he's the weak link. I know Harry Maguire gets a lot of error. He makes a lot of errors, and that's why if you don't watch Man United regularly, you see it 'cause he makes all these errors. But he's a good defender. He is a good defender.
Joe, I think Harry Maguire gets a lot of shit because his head is big and he went for a lot of money. I think he's a wonderful defender, and I think he's also been very, very consistent over the last 4 or 5 months, actually. And I don't think people appreciate enough how much pressure mentally and physically it takes to play 50 games for Man United or any club for that matter, season in, season out, without getting injured, without getting sent off as a centre-back. And I think obviously players make errors and they're highlighted. And as you all were saying about the goalkeepers, I think with defensive and keeping errors, they always get highlighted more because, as you all know, Bamford can miss 100 chances, but if he scores one, everyone's happy. But if Maguire makes one error, that's the end of the world.
Yeah. No, it's a bit like almost it's like John Stones before this season kind of thing. Everyone was always looking at the errors rather than like his general performance, thinking, "Oh, he made this mistake, he made that mistake," and you're thinking, "Hang on a minute, he's been pretty solid."
Well, people are starting to questioning him again.
Yeah, exactly.
I was speaking to Corin, this isn't to dig anyone out, but naturally we do it because I've been doing the same thing. He's made a few errors of late, and we're like, "Oh, for England, oh no," but he's had an unbelievable season, so we should look at it as I get what you're saying. You bang on, yeah.
But that's the thing. I do still think Stones is the better of the two, though. I do still think Stones has got that a little bit more to his game personally than Maguire. But having said that, Maguire, fair play to him, because I look at Lindelof and think for a centre-back, he's really small for a centre-back in terms of you can easily do him in the air, I think, definitely. I don't think I'm very surprised that Lindelof as starts for Man United instead of Bailly. To be honest, I think if Bailly didn't have massive injury problems, I think he's a far better centre-back than Lindelof. So for me, if I'm Patrick Bamford, I'm targeting this side.
Cut you off here for a second. Bailly, the biggest thing, what's working for Eric Bailly is the syndrome that he just doesn't play. So every single time he's not there, you're going to be like, if he played, he'd be good. But the problem is he's never fit. He's always got that working for him forever. That's going to be his biggest thing, some of these players. Or, if he wasn't injured, what would it be? What would he have achieved? But, the fact is you have to be fit to be able to achieve anything.
I still think he's better than Lindelof, though. I think Lindelof, you look at him and think, I can't remember who it was against. Was it West Brom or something? And he literally just got, the ball came into the box. I think it was West Brom.
Don't get me started on the VAR.
He literally just got
the West Ham attacker did this to him. Come on.
He is quite soft as centre-backs go.
Sham's fuming.
He is quite a soft centre-back, Lindelof, for me, mate. I think out of that back four, he is the area where I'd be targeting.
I think what I'd say in the Lindelof and Bailly debate as well is that they've both got a mistake in them, but Lindelof's mistakes are because of things he can't help usually. They're either things that other players have done or the fact that he's got no physicality, whereas a lot of Bailly's mistakes just come from him trying really stupid things. Like he'll try a bicycle in the box under no pressure. One time out of 10 he'll miss the ball and concede a goal from it, and that's the sort of thing we're on about.
He'll never ever beat Giuseppe Beluschi, mate. And YouTube him if you don't believe me. He did it 4 times in one season, I think.
Yeah. There was a ball coming over the top, man. And he tried to... Oh, go on, James. Sorry.
It's like having a 5-year-old with severe ADHD at the back. It really, like, whenever he's on the ball, he's looking for what really weird, wacky thing can I do that's going to make me look great? And I think that's why he gets injured a lot, because he's just trying head height kicks and flying through the air and bicycles under no pressure. And it's weird. He's a weird bloke.
I kid you not, I've never seen that guy jump and land right. He always lands awkwardly. He's always doing something. And Lindelof's mistake will cost you a goal. Bailly's mistake will cost you a red card or an injury.
That's fair. I mean, I think, for me, the outside looking in, I think it's pretty clear that you need a holding midfielder and a centre-back to win a title. I think I'd be panicking if you got someone like a Declan Rice, to be honest, and thinking, there might actually be, someone like that who does the unsexy job in the middle of the park. I'm not sure. Centre-back wise, are you linked with anyone at the minute alongside Maguire?
We're linked to everyone. Every elite centre-back you've seen, we're linked. There'll be some report about how United have agreed terms with Varane, Koulibaly, Sergio Ramos, everyone. Apparently we'd agreed to sign Alaba as he was signing for Real Madrid. So if there's a player who's good, he's
Ramos to Anderson for Fulham. We're linked from the entire tier. So it's useless looking at the transfer rumors.
Who would you go for if you had, obviously you can have that big budget in the summer. What would your kind of main signing be, James?
I probably would have taken Alaba on a free, but it's a difficult one. I'd probably take Varane, given his experience and the fact that he's probably going to go on the cheap. So he's got a year left, but he's like the rest of the defenders we've got. He's got a mistake in him. We saw that in the Champions League against City. He's not like he's a world class centre back, but he's not as reliable as you'd want him to be. But the problem is world class centre backs are very much at a premium at the minute as well. So you've not got as big a pool of selection as you'd probably think.
But James and Oscar, just one thing. I think every centre-back has a mistake in them, man. I think you hear about this legend of Maldini. Maldini's made errors. You hear this legend about Peter Schmeichel, right? Peter Schmeichel has made some of the most embarrassing mistakes a goalkeeper can. So I think it's not about as much as about the mistakes. It's about how you bounce back from it. Ferdinand and Vidic, we talk about sort of this great partnership. They've been bullied in games, and I mean literally bullied. But you don't remember those games because they bounce back hard because they're great players. Rafael Varane, I completely agree with James. He has a mistake. Sergio Ramos can win you a red card on demand almost. But it's the character that's important as a defender and as a goalkeeper as to how you bounce back from those things. And that is where I feel sort of these world-class defenders stand out in a sense.
Well, that's because you haven't got Diego Llorente, mate. That's because that's the issue there, mate. That is the issue. But only messing. But obviously, moving on. It's only 5-6 games left of the season. I mean, James, obviously, it's pretty much decided now. You're going to finish second. You're not going to finish any higher. You're not going to finish any lower. I mean, what would you rate the season out of 10 if you were to finish second and win the Europa League?
It's a very difficult question to answer. It depends sort of how much context you want to put into it. Like I was saying to you before the show, the way we started the season, losing 3-1 at home to Palace, losing 6-1 at home to Spurs. I was thinking, God, we might finish top half if we're very lucky. So to then get the season how it's gone, to finish second, given our schedule, and then if we can put a trophy on top of that, I think you've got to rate it an 8 out of 10. I think it can't get close to a 10 out of 10 given the standards that we set as a club for ourselves, but it's definitely a much better season than I was expecting already from the start of the season.
And Prashant, what would you go for, mate?
Yeah, I think James hit the nail on the head there. If you say Manchester United have come second and won the Europa League, that's about a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10 season. You give the context that we've been through over the past, not just the year, the transfer season before that, and then how this season began, and the way the boys and Oli have sort of galvanized the squad, then you'd have to say it's about an 8 or even an 8.5. But again, if you just say Manchester United, it's not good enough.
And can I add as well? Yeah. Could I just add, if we keep Pogba this summer, this season goes up to a 9. That's all I'll add.
So
you're massive fan, James?
I think he's our most talented player. It's just the consistency that lets him down. I think when Pogba's playing well, he has more of an impact on the team than when Bruno's playing well.
And obviously the combination of Pogba and Bruno, like last game, Bruno obviously was marked out by Calvin Phillips, for example, but McTominay ran through. Now imagine Pogba doing the same job. I think it's a different ball game when you have two players like Pogba and Bruno driving your midfield. Everything changes, in my opinion.
But
yeah, he's good. He's good, man. When he's on it, he's.
But that's the
great,
thing, though.
Man.
When he's on it, I think when you're trying to win a title, I think you need like a Gundogan, like a De Bruyne, where you kind of know what you're going to get week in, week out. A Fernandinho. I think you need, for me personally, I think you need that kind of. I think obviously, if you sign a good enough CDM, you can more than make up for Pogba not being the hardest working off the ball. I think it probably. I do genuinely fear, as a Leeds fan, if Man United did get someone like a Declan Rice, that yeah, there would probably be.
Well, when I did that thing with Karthik from the same channel as James, he said someone like a Calvin Phillips would be perfect in a 3 with Bruno, and I said it had never happened, but he said like if he was looking at the squad, we did an 11 and there were Leeds players in there because obviously I'm a Leeds fan and it's my channel. But he did say, like, Rafinha and KP, he genuinely would take now and put them in the side. Would you guys agree with that, James?
I mean, he'd be an improvement, no doubt. I don't think he's the ideal replacement, but, there's not many clubs in England that he doesn't improve, in my opinion. I think he's one player at Leeds that even in the Championship, I was thinking this when he was tearing Arsenal apart in the FA Cup when you were in the Championship, and I was like, you've got a serious player here.
It's Arsenal though, mate.
Well, yeah.
Right, you, Prasham, would it be Rafinha and KP, or would it just be Rafinha?
I think it'd just be Phillips, to be honest, because it depends whom you're playing on that right-hand side then. I think Phillips allows you to play Bruno and Pogba, of course, in midfield. And then you can put probably Mason on the right with, I don't know if Cavani is going to stay, but then Cavani and Rashford on the left. Because, Rafinha probably is that kind of player who I would want on the bench who can come on and change the game for United. I think he could really be that kind of a player. I don't think James is that player. I mean, y'all can have him back if y'all want and trade him for Rafinha. I think I'll be more than happy.
We've heard this.
No, I think the Sancho deal, will it, won't it? If that, surely Rafinha, I don't know. I think you're doing him a bit of a disservice there, Prasham. I think there's only, for me, the only teams that Rafinha doesn't walk into is Liverpool, because their front three is unbelievable, and Manchester City. And I'd argue after a while he probably would start for Manchester City as opposed to Mahrez. That's just my opinion.
Mate,
I think
over Bernardo Silva.
Well, I don't know. I would believe so. Yeah, after a while, mate. I'm not gonna come back from that. I think, like I said, I don't think he would walk straight in. There's only two sides he doesn't, and it would be City and it would be Liverpool. Everyone else, Rafinha starts for me.
I'd agree with you. I don't think Mason Greenwood's a right winger. Really, I don't think we can play him there long term because if we manage him right, he will become one of the best strikers in the world. He's never going to become one of the best right wingers in the world. So all this talk of Cavani leaving, we shift Mason Greenwood centrally, bring in a player like Rafinha that's going to put balls on a plate for him to finish. How can you complain? I think I completely agree. Rafinha would, I think, completely change our attack as well. We've got goal scorers up front, not creators, and that's a big problem that we have. And Rafinha is a creator over a goal scorer, so I think he'd slot in very well at this United side.
Oh, this is making me nervous. So this talk.
He'll be all right, man.
It's bad enough him and Fernandez have got links together, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's bad enough. Don't go.
It'd be horrible, wouldn't it? It would be horrible. It'd be horrible.
I was 7 when Ferdinand left. 7. Oh, I can't tell you. I can't tell you that experience.
Rafinha and then Calvin Phillips.
No, don't.
Nah, Calvin won't happen.
Nah,
I can confidently say with my chest, Calvin won't happen.
We never thought Smith would, though, did we?
Yeah, but Smith, Calvin.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I think Rafinha.
You're in your
Calvin wouldn't go. Calvin wouldn't. I'll say that on my chest. But Rafinha, I'm a little bit nervous.
I've said to you before, and people hammered me for it, but I don't think he will go in the summer. But if he has another season or betters this season next, then we will struggle to keep him at that point. And trust me, these are the facts of it. If Bruno Fernandes is still at Man United and Man United go in for him, he'll go there. I've said that to you before, Oscar. I said that would be my main worry, is that he would end up rocking up there. Hopefully he goes on the continent. He goes to, because I genuinely feel he could end up at Madrid. He looks that good to me. He's so young. He'll just improve under Bielsa. And I may be overshooting it, but I think he's that good. He will play at the top. Hopefully we can get European football and progress with him. But if he has another barnstormer, then of course people are going to come knocking. Leeds United have already said we're going to follow the Leicester model. We paid 17 million for this guy. 17 million. Look at what they paid for Maguire. Look at what City played for Mahrez. Do you know what I mean? So it'll be a similar sort of move.
Leicester fans, when they were early on in this kind of model, would have probably said, Mahrez, he won't go to City and all this.
Exactly.
They will, because that's the thing. When you go about recruitment in that way, you're signing young, ambitious players who just want to go right to the top. And for me, Rafinha is that type of player for me. Just what you see from him, the way he's fired up in that lot, in games and that lot,
And I just want to categorically say I don't want him to go, and I want him to go anywhere but Man United. But I just think, I don't know, I've had it in me since I've discovered they were best friends. It was like, I don't like that.
I've made peace with it that he could go to all the big cities.
Unless Bruno comes the other way.
Don't what? We got Stuart Dallas, mate.
I don't think Bruno fancies playing no European football.
Well, mate, we might get 7th yet, so he might be able to play that new Europa League Championship that's going to start. Maybe he'll want to go. Maybe he'll want to be the inaugural winner of that.
He's ambitious. He is ambitious, as they say.
I can't imagine what a horror storm it'd be, Bruno Fernandes and Bielsa clashing personality-wise as well. Because Bruno Fernandes is a manager on the pitch, and Bielsa's just the dictator of whatever team he goes to, isn't he? So those two personalities would be a horrendous clash, I think.
Okay. Well, that's that then. He's not coming.
I think Pogba and Bielsa would be the funniest, in terms of working together.
Yeah, well, I was on the United Star earlier on, and I told Sid the story about how, when Bielsa first came, he got the squad to go pick up litter so that they could learn what it was like for the average man or woman working during the week, what they had to do in order to get a match ticket. And he couldn't believe it. And I said, can you imagine him asking a Pogba or whatever to go pick up litter? So he'd be like, no, I'm not having that. No, he'd be just dabbing his way out of the training ground money. That'd be it. Game over.
Pretty much.
Guys, can I ask you as well, just before we finish, what do you make, I never rated Jesse Lingard, right? I didn't. I thought they paid him far too much too soon. The contract that he got blew my mind. I never thought he would leave Man United. I thought, and again, I don't know him personally, but this is the image that I got, and it's bad for me for doing that. But it was he'll never leave Man United. He'd rather sit on the bench and earn all this money. And he hasn't done that. And to be fair to him, he's gone to West Ham and he's absolutely ripped it up. He should be in the England squad, if not starting. And would you guys take him back, or do you think you owe him a bit of service to say, go play football elsewhere and get game time, James?
Nothing against him, but I don't want to see him back at United. I think there'd be no point in having him at United. Selling him works for both parties. He's never been worth more than he is right now. There's shouts of 30 million for him. We were willing to let him go on a free at the end of the season, up until he moved to West Ham. And on Jesse Lingard's part, why would he want to come back and sit on the bench when he's such a confidence-based player? You saw that he's had very good spells at United where he was scoring goals because he was confident and because he was in the team all the time. Whereas when he's out of the team, you see when he comes in, he offers nothing. He's waltzing around the pitch. He's a ghost of a player. So he's not going to displace Bruno Fernandes in this squad. So he's not going to get that regular game time, that confidence that he needs to put in performances. So it's best for both parties just to split ways and just thank him for his service, and that's that.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Well, let's get some predictions in. Before we finish. I'm going to start the ball rolling with a 1-1. I'm going to say a 1-1. Prashant, what are you saying, mate?
3-1. I suppose a 3-1.
To Leeds,
Leeds?
yes.
Manchester United before you ask. There's just one, but sure you could ask.
And James?
I'll go 2-1. I'm not quite as confident as Prashant, but I think you've got to back your team, haven't you? I'll go 2-1.
No, I think, wait, I'm not. So this 3-1 is not born out of confidence. I think it'll be 2-1, and then in the 86th minute, Bielsa will go hell for leather, and we'll get a goal on the counter through Dan James. He'll run down the flanks, put it in the box, and remind you all of the entire transfer saga.
Don't pretend you like Dan James now. Don't start pretending you like Dan James.
2
after
games
all
in the
this.
year, I can like him. Come on, I could do that.
It's funny though, because I really, really like Dan James, and I felt a bit sad for him that it didn't work at Man United initially, and then he scored against us, and then I went, I can't stand that, man. Do you know what I mean? So it's mad how things can change. For me, mate, I'm going 2-1. Like James said, I think you've always got to back your team. I think this time it'll be very, very different. Anyone expecting another scoreline like it won't. Leeds have changed slightly. We're a lot more pragmatic to an extent compared to what we're used to. The fact that we've, undefeated in 5, and in that time we've played Chelsea, Liverpool and Manchester City shows you, where we're at as a club right now. I'm really confident, and I think in response to that 6-2 hammering, we will be the team that Manchester United will get beat away from home. The 13 games unbeaten now, I think, away from home this season. We're going to be the team to break that at the weekend and beat them 2-1. Fucking come on.
Well, we're going to leave it there, guys. We're going to leave it there. We're confident going into this one. But James, big thanks to James, and big thanks to Prashant from United Star. And yeah, guys, we'll be back in less than an hour because we got before the whistle blows. Should be good fun. And
cheers for coming on,
course,
lads, as well. Great guest. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Big thanks, guys. And make sure you smash that subscribe and like button. And we will see you later.